offensive against the Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah, remember, is a group that is backed by Iran and has a presence in the Lebanese political system as well. The Israeli military's tanks were seen massing in the northern part of the country near the Israel-Lebanon border on Monday. Hezbollah says it is ready for any Israeli land invasion in Lebanon. Israel, remember, has invaded Lebanon twice in the past. Hezbollah has fired a barrage of rockets at northern Israel amidst the group's promise that it will exact vengeance after the killing of its leader, Hassan Nasrallah. That's the latest that we're getting in from Lebanon and from Israel at this point of time. I want to go across to India today's Ashraf Wani, the first Indian journalist on the ground in southern Lebanon. He's been reporting from the impact points where airstrikes have taken place. Ashraf, the defense minister of Israel has hinted very strongly now that a ground offensive could be next. What are you hearing on the ground? Those airstrikes still continue?
Absolutely, that is the strategy which has been so far giving the impression here in the Lebanon. We have seen the spike of strikes by the Israeli defensive forces, not only in the southern part of this country, where since last 1 year war is going on between Hezbollah and the Israel, but now the area of escalation has increased during last 1 week, particularly after the attacks on the Hezbollah headquarters. We are getting reports today, even on Monday, that Bekaa Valley is under fire under the rockets. I am in the Saidun, which is the city in the southern part of Lebanon. A massive blast carried out during the night here, in which 30 people got killed and near about 70 injured. And the impact of these blasts is visible, that it brings multi-story buildings on the ground and you can see nothing. Each and everything what is inside the building that gets buried under those debris. That I witnessed it today. Probably in the late hours we will show that exclusive ground report from Saidun to our viewers. But one thing is clear, for last 1 week or more than 1 week, Israeli defensive forces are preparing for the ground invasion. They have already deployed tanks, armored vehicles on the southern border of Lebanon, which is the very hot border so far since last 11 months. But the ground invasion for the Israel will not be so easy as it is to carry out the aerial strikes, which deliver results for them. But the one-to-one battle in the ground invasion will be very tough for the Israel, as Hezbollah is not the Hezbollah what it was in 2006, when it compelled IDF to leave the Lebanon.
Ashraf, also, have these airstrikes, impacted in a big way the Hezbollah's ability to strike back? Do they still have their weapons? Do they still have their missile positions, etc.?
Sure, absolutely. Everything of Hezbollah has not been finished by the Israel in 200 or 2,000 airstrikes. I was talking to one of the leading doctors here in the Beirut early morning today. He said the new bombs, American-made bombs used in the Nasrallah assassination has the capability to penetrate 15 stories of a house. You can understand what kind of bombing so far Israel is using here in the Lebanon. But even those bombs cannot collapse the Hezbollah. Hezbollah has civil weaponry. They have underground cannons, like in the Gaza, in the southern region of this country. They have other set of missiles which are very long range, that was briefed by Hassan Nasrallah 2 months back in a video message that was called the missile city of Hezbollah. That is not sit under the radar, and its location is not yet known to the IDF. Otherwise, that could have been bombed also. And after the operation, what was launched by the IDF in the Beirut, where Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah was killed, he was not sitting in any floor of that building. His bunker was underground, and that was created after 2006 war by getting experiences of the military might of Israel. Despite that, Israeli defense forces managed to put their bomb in that deep bunker and kill him. But when the body of the Hassan Nasrallah was recovered after 2 days, the people said that it was intact. There was not any kind of damage to the body. That clearly indicates that how safe and how much underground network Hezbollah has settled in the Lebanon.
And these airstrikes are not going to stop anytime soon. Ashraf, please stay safe. Thank you very much for getting us that live ground report from Beirut. The first airstrikes have hit targets within the Beirut city limits as well, making the Lebanese capital become, as before, part of the active war zone and where airstrikes are taking place. Ashraf continues to bravely report from the war zone. Now, Israeli fighter jets, F-15s, F-16s and others are continuing a campaign of airstrikes, striking both northern and southern regions. About 120 Hezbollah sites have been targeted in this relentless assault. Meanwhile, Israel finds itself, as always, in a multi-front war, with its jets also moving towards the east to target Houthi military positions in Yemen in retaliation for ballistic missile attacks emerging from that country. Remember, Hamas, Houthis and the Hezbollah are the Triple H, the three proxies of Iran, situated in three different directions. The stakes are high, the conflict is escalating. Take a look.
This is what remains of southern Lebanon's Ain Eddel. Israeli army says it has killed another senior Hezbollah figure, Nabil Qaouk, amid an ongoing exchange of strikes between the two sides. This even as Israeli military tanks continue to mass big in northern Israel-Lebanon border. Israel has expanded its attacks on Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen, stoking fears of a bigger regional war. The Israel Air Force's refueling aircraft have been operating in all arenas in the war, providing fighter jets with flexibility in strikes and aerial operations at any distance. The Israeli Air Force is conducting strikes on military targets belonging to the Houthi terrorist regime in the areas of Ras Isa and Hudaya in Yemen, including power plants and a seaport that are used by the Houthis to import oil for military purposes.
We see the attack today, 2,000 kilometers away in Hodeidah and its surroundings. And the achievements, as they are reflected, are very impressive. And the meaning is clear. Those who try to attack us or harm the citizens of Israel will pay a very heavy price.
In Gaza too, Israel continues its offensive against Hamas. A new video released by Israeli army shows a tunnel in central Gaza Strip being dismantled. Israel is fighting wars on 3 of its 5 fronts. All the 3 fronts with the 3 H's. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and the Houthis in Yemen are active and blazing. The opening of multiple fronts comes ahead of the first anniversary of the October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas. At the heart of the war is Iran, which provides significant financial, military and strategic support to Hamas, Hezbollah and Houthis, and the Iraqi and Syrian Shia militias against their common enemy, Israel. Israel's military actions in the war are therefore in part aimed at weakening Iran's regional influence by disrupting its ability to support these proxy groups. The killing of high-ranking leaders of Hezbollah and the targeting of Houthi rebels in Yemen are seen as direct challenges to Iran's regional strategy. Iran's response to these developments will be crucial in determining the future trajectory of the war. Bureau Report, India Today.
This multi-front war that Israel is now waging, using its fighter jets, using airstrikes, using missiles to target the Hezbollah, the Houthis in the Gaza campaign, this is relentless. It's been going on for the last few days and it's only been escalating now. India Today's Ashraf Wani, who you just heard from live, has been reporting fearlessly for the last few days from ground zero, including where those airstrikes are taking place, getting you first-hand updates from the conflict sites themselves. Take a look at the latest that Ashraf has sent us. The assassination of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah in an Israeli airstrike has plunged West Asia into deeper turmoil. India Today's Ashraf Wani, who's in the war zone in southern Lebanon, visited the site targeted by Israeli missiles over the last few days.
A multi-story building has been targeted a few hours back, early in the morning on Monday, and this multi-story building has collapsed completely, and you can see nothing except destruction here. At least 30 people got killed in the strike, one of the biggest strikes carried out by the Israel in Lebanon since last 1 week after the Hassan Nasrallah's death in the south suburbs of the Beirut.
The ongoing war has caused immense suffering to civilians on the ground.
Israel on the Sunday morning targeted this building behind me here in the central Beirut. 3 people died. We believe it to be the political leaders. Some top political leaders of Hezbollah had been targeted in this building behind me. You can see everything is shattered here. How many cars had got damaged. There is the presence of army and the security personnel, in fact police, and how much devastating that blast had been in that multi-story building behind me, which has completely damaged it and has caused a lot of damage in that particular apartment.
Despite growing international calls for a ceasefire, both sides continued their attacks relentlessly. With hundreds crossing the border to Syria, looking for a safe zone, the streets in these areas have turned empty.
After Friday's missile strikes, in which not only the Hezbollah's top commander Hassan Nasrallah was killed, but many top leaders and the civilians had been killed in that Israeli attack here in the Beirut. Since then, there is chaos all across the Lebanon, particularly in the South Lebanon, where these strikes were carried out not only on Friday, but even on the Saturday too. Most of the people have fled from these areas and are now moving towards the safer areas, and thousands of people and families spend their nights in open sky in different roadsides, parks and the sea beaches here in the Beirut. Hezbollah has not only taken the oath that they are going to take big revenge from Israel for killing off their commander, but the indications are so that after the final procession and funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, this war will escalate. Hezbollah has not yet decided the day for the funeral of Hassan Nasrallah, but the Lebanese government has already declared 5 days of mourning, which will close on Wednesday. Ashraf Wani for India Today in Beirut.
And let's get a word in from the Israeli government system. Ms. Orly Weitzman is the new Consul General of Israel in South India. Ms. Weitzman, welcome. Thank you for speaking to India Today. Your assessment of the current situation. It's been a marked escalation since the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, the Hezbollah chief. How do you see how things are at present?
Thank you very much for the interview. You're correct. There's a lot still going on. Israel still has the responsibility to make sure that that the north of Israel is safe for its citizens, and it's doing its utmost to make sure that citizens Israel can go back to their home in the northern after almost a year of being misplaced and having to relocate to other parts. Israel will make sure that this is secure. Hopefully, very much that we can do it in peaceful ways and in more diplomatic means. But again, we have to do everything that we can in order to make sure that that citizens can go back to their homes.
And how does Israel see the possibility of a major retaliation? The Hezbollah has just lost its chief and another rung of its leadership as well, apparently, in these airstrikes, Ms. Weitzman. And they've, as always, they've vowed revenge attacks on Israel. So how do you see that?
Israel's army is a strong army, and Israel will have to respond in any way in order to defend Israel. Israel doesn't want an armed conflict, and I'm hoping very much that the Iranians realize that it's not in their best interest to do this, because they will be met with a very strong response. However, if they do decide to do anything, Israel is well prepared and will respond accordingly.
Ms. Weitzman, from the killing of Ismail Haniyeh, the Hamas chief a few weeks ago, to now Hassan Nasrallah, the previous one Israel has not claimed credit for, this one Israel has. Both times there's always been speculation and suspense over Iran getting into this conflict directly, not just through its proxies. Yes, there were direct attacks from Iran in April this year, if I'm not mistaken. But is there still a sense that Iran could get involved directly, or what is the hesitation in your view?
Iran has a very convenient situation where it uses its proxies against Israel. So it's tried to do everything that it can in order to hurt Israel in any way that they can, using their different proxies around the Middle East. Israel deals with any threat that's thrown its way, whether it's via proxies or whether directly. So So as long as we are eliminating the threats that was mostly done through proxies until now, I think they maybe didn't feel a need to step in. I don't know. I don't make their decisions. Hopefully, they'll realize that any direct attack will be met with the same kind of response.
What are the boxes that need to be ticked for a de-escalation at this point of time from Israel's side? Has that changed at all, Ms. Weitzman?
So Israel has been saying, since the 8th of October, has said that it basically wants UN Resolution 1701 to be implemented. Basically, they have no threats at Israeli borders, whether south or north, and we're talking specifically about the north right now. And make sure that the Hezbollah is disarmed, not threatening Israeli citizens. If this happens in diplomatic ways, all the better. That's Israel's preference, and that's what Israel was aiming for and is still aiming for. And if not, then it will happen other ways. What Israel wants is safety and security for its people.
Ms. Weitzman, as you no doubt have seen on the news, there have been protests in different parts of India, especially in the north, in Kashmir and UP, elsewhere, in support of Hassan Nasrallah. How do you see that?
So I think I don't want to talk about the north. That's not my expertise. I deal mainly with the south. Yeah. But I will say that from what I experience here, a lot of people that I meet, a lot of Indians that I meet, there's a lot of understanding and a lot of knowledge of what's going on, and people who research it and try to understand exactly the situation are very supportive of Israel, and that's very good for us and very heartwarming, because we see that most of the people, at least the people I meet, are intelligent and curious and want to try and understand. Unfortunately, that's not always the situation. And there are people who are trying to make their own agendas, or people who don't really understand the situation and don't try and look up the situation to really understand the different points of view. And that's where I think protests happen mostly. But from my experience in South India, there is a lot of understanding of the Israeli position, and I admire that in the Indian people who really try to in-depth understand the situation. And when they do that, they realize why Israel needs to defend itself and needs to do what it does to make it.
Do you see any kind of a special or elevated role for India in what comes next? Can India play some kind of diplomatic role beyond what it is already doing at this point in this conflict, Ms. Weitzman? Last question.
So India is a very important ally of Israel, and we want all the international community to make it clear to all Iran and its proxies that it should be trying to maintain diplomatic solutions for this conflict.
Orly Weitzman, thanks very much for speaking to India Today. We will, of course, here on India Today continue to get you the stakeholders, the biggest voices on this unfolding story, the tension, the war in West Asia. Well, one of those questions that I asked Orly Weitzman of the Israeli embassy was about the protests that are taking place in parts of India, most notably in the Kashmir Valley. Big protests in support of the Hezbollah chief, Mourning Nasrallah. Slogans and banners denouncing Israel and the United States have reverberated through the streets of Kashmir. But are these protests really organic? Is this public anger, or has it been stoked? Take a look.
Protests erupt in various areas of Srinagar and Budgam districts in Jammu and Kashmir over the killing of Hassan Nasrallah. Demonstrators took to the streets on Monday, chanting anti-Israel and anti-American slogans, holding images of the Hezbollah chief who died in an airstrike in Lebanon on September 27. The Bajrang Dal held counter-protests against the PDP and NC in Jammu, slamming them for backing Nasrallah. Political tensions escalated after PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti cancelled her campaign in solidarity with the people of Palestine and Lebanon over the killing of Nasrallah in Israel. Mufti's daughter Iltija lauded Nasrallah for backing the people of Gaza. Calling the Hezbollah chief Sahab, Iltija Mufti stated that she, just like Nasrallah, is against Israel's policy.
बट हार्ट्स ऑफ हैवी, हमारे दिल में बहुत दर्द है। आप जानते हैं नसरुल्लाह साहब ने जहां भी आजाब शिकस्त जुल्म हो रहा था, खास तौर से गाजा में, उनने उन लोगों के लिए लड़ा जो उनके थे भी नहीं। He wasn't even from there. So our hearts are heavy and people here should have the right to protest. अगर वो protest कर रहे हैं, आपको क्या problem है? They want to protest against the Israeli policy of genocide. कैसे जाके वो वहाँ लेबनान में carpet bombing कर रहे हैं? इसमें कोई गलत चीज नहीं है।
The J&K National Conference also expressed solidarity with Nasrallah.
जो कल हुआ उसके बाद ऐसा लगता है जैसे पूरे क्षेत्र में अब जंग के बादल जो है नजर आ रहे हैं। हिंदुस्तान की हुकूमत को, हिंदुस्तान के वजीर आजम को, बाकी मुल्कों के लीडरान को इजराइल पर दबाव बनाए रख के वहां दोबारा अमन कायम करने की मुकम्मल कोशिश करनी चाहिए।
The Congress chose to distance itself from the controversy.
हम बाहर जो देख रहे हैं वो एक अलग जो दुनिया का नजरिया है, जो जिसकी फीलिंग है, लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम हमें अपनी डेमोक्रेसी को स्ट्रेंथन करके अपने लोगों के लिए आगे बढ़ने की जरूरत है। मेरा ख्याल है ऐसी सिचुएशन जो है वो क्रिएट नहीं करनी चाहिए।
The BJP questioned the intent of the NC and PDP in rallying behind Hezbollah.
अगर दुनिया भर में कहीं आतंकवाद के खिलाफ कार्रवाई होती है तो नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस, पीडीपी और कांग्रेस जैसे पार्टियां उनके समर्थन में नजर आती हैं। उनको गाजा तो नजर आता है, लेकिन ढाका में हिंदुओं की हत्याएं नजर नहीं आती। ये राजनीतिक दल तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति के चलते चलते इस तरह से अपनी रैलियों को रद्द भी करते हैं, आतंकवाद का समर्थन भी करते हैं। ये लोकतंत्र के पक्ष में नहीं है, आतंकवाद के समर्थक हैं।
Kashmiri pundits joined the chorus, slamming Mufti.
इनको कम से कम शर्म आनी चाहिए। जो 90 में उन्होंने नरसंहार किया है, जो गिरजा टिकू का कत्ले आम किया, उस तक इन्होंने मुंह तक नहीं खोला। उन्होंने जो बांग्लादेश में नरसंहार हिंदू के साथ उस वक्त इन्होंने मुंह नहीं खोला है। मेरी एक रिक्वेस्ट है गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया से, ऐसे लोगों को चुन के इनको एयरपोर्ट तक पहुंचाइए, जहाज में बिठाइए फ्री, हम उसका पैसा देंगे, इनको वहां पोर्ट कर लीजिए।
The protests by the NC and PDP over Nasrallah's killing come a day ahead of the last phase of voting in J&K. Bureau Report, India Today.
And Sunil Ji Bhatt joins me live from Jammu. He's been reporting from all across the state. Sunil, these protests that are taking place, these are obviously political protests happening because there's an election campaign on right now, isn't it?
Well, Shiv, ever since Hezbollah chief Nasrallah was eliminated by Israel, since then protests are being witnessed in many parts of the Kashmir Valley, particularly in the areas where Shia community members live. And now the political parties in the Kashmir Valley are adding fuel to the fire. They are giving statements that are pro-Hezbollah, whether it's the Mehbooba Mufti or Iltija Mufti or the National Conference leaders. They are saying that that Muslims are being persecuted in Lebanon, in Gaza, and Iltija Mufti has even gone on to compare Kashmir with Gaza. Being done in view of this last phase of assembly elections, which is going to be crucial when it comes to the final tally, when it comes to the final results, because this phase is going to decide who is going to form government in Jammu and Kashmir. And Shiv, as far as Kashmir Valley is concerned, protests like these are not because every time when there have been international, events or international happenings, there are segments of people and there are certain groups who, stage protests. They come out on the streets. Whether it was when Pakistani leader Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was hanged. At that time also there were protests. Then see the irony, Shiv, the Pakistani dictator who hanged Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, when he died in an air crash, even that time protests were witnessed. When there was Islamic revolution in Iran and there were political happenings in Azerbaijan, at that point of time also there were protests. So now political parties are adding fuel to the fire because one phase of assembly elections is left, and these political parties want to gain maximum in these elections. Shiv, back to you.
All right, Sunil, thanks very much for that overview of why these protests have been taking place. Iltija Mufti, the daughter of former Jammu and Kashmir Chief Minister and PDP Chief Mehbooba Mufti, has, among many others in the Kashmir Valley, from the political system there, mourned the death of Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah, calling out Israel's attacks on Lebanon and Gaza. As the successor of an entrenched political dynasty in Jammu and Kashmir, Iltija's word carries a lot of weight. So it is no surprise that even the Kashmir Valley, the situation 3,500 kilometers away from Hezbollah strongholds in southern Lebanon, there have been protests by big crowds. The Kashmir Valley I'm talking about. Now, I've reported on Kashmir for over 20 years, viewer, and I can tell you that organizing a crowd protest is actually no big deal, even when it's over the death of some faraway personality that common Kashmiris feel really nothing for. But Iltija Mufti, who's fighting the Jammu and Kashmir election from a well-tested family bastion, which she will almost definitely win, and we wish her the best, she's displayed the deepest possible duplicity by invoking and claiming to mourn the death of martyr Hassan Nasrallah of the Hezbollah. Her words go, however, beyond the usual cynical posturing during this election campaign in J&K. They come at a time when Iltija Mufti is making a strenuous effort to carve out an identity for herself that isn't stained by perceptions of being a silver-spooned dynast who, after spending all of her life enjoying the privileges of being a Kashmiri, fully insulated from the true problems facing common Kashmiris, is now ready to claim her legacy by ensuring those problems in Kashmir never actually go away. Iltija Mufti, who's had the privilege, despite being a Kashmiri, of studying in Delhi and studying in the United Kingdom as well. For instance, Iltija Mufti's recent remarks comparing the situation in Kashmir to the violence and chaos in Gaza or Lebanon reveal a glaring, cynical hypocrisy that I refuse to let go of unchecked. While both regions have experienced conflict, drawing parallels between them today is not only absurd, but deeply irresponsible. It harms the Kashmiri people. Kashmir in recent years, no matter which way you look at it, has witnessed significant improvements in security and development. This is not to say all is perfect, but comparing the situation in Kashmir to Gaza is a huge disservice to the sacrifice of the people of Kashmir and to both regions in general. More importantly, this comparison appears to be less about genuine concern for Kashmiris and more about preserving Iltija's family's dwindling political relevance. For decades, the Mufti family, with their political party, the PDP, have wielded influence in Kashmir by oscillating between a soft separatist rhetoric and aligning with the government at the center. They've portrayed themselves as the voice of the common Kashmiri, but it is becoming increasingly clear that their chief concern is their own political survival. The abrogation of Article 370 in 2019, which removed Kashmir's special status, marked a pivotal moment in the region's politics. For Iltija and her family, this change was more than just a political decision. It signified the erosion of their power base. Since 2019, Kashmir has seen a steady return to normalcy with decreased terrorism, decreased militancy, a revived economy, improved infrastructure, record tourism, and criteria across the board that suggest and confirm that things are actually getting better. Schools and businesses that were frequently shut due to strikes and unrest are now functional. Tourism, visitors are picking up, and life is returning to a semblance of peace that has been elusive, violently elusive for so long. Yet for leaders, young promising leaders like Iltija Mufti, who should know better, this improvement is inconvenient because it undermines the very foundation of their political narrative, their silver-spooned dynastic legacy. The more peaceful and developed Kashmir becomes, the less relevant the Mufti family's rhetoric of victimhood and soft separatism appears. The solution? Tell the people of Kashmir that they actually live in a Gaza-like hell and constantly invoke the memories of terrorists like Burhan Wani so that common Kashmiris, who, God forbid, dream of a life of normalcy and prosperity, are drawn back into the morass of conflict and anger. That's the easy way out. Nobody should lecture Iltija Mufti or anyone else for claiming to mourn the death of Hassan Nasrallah. As someone who's looked at the Middle Eastern crisis for years, I even did a dissertation on it. I can tell you that there are no blacks and whites between Israel and Hezbollah or Israel and Gaza. These are complicated issues filled with polarizing emotions, and nobody can be faulted with having strong views one way or the other. Iltija Mufti is well within her rights to express her views, but it is the reason and the timing for the expression of those views that requires calling out, and that's what I'm doing right now. By equating Kashmir with Gaza, Iltija Mufti is attempting to stoke emotional fires among the Kashmiri people, many of whom have endured decades of instability. Gaza, as we all know, is a region ravaged by warfare, now has blockades, a full-fledged humanitarian crisis, thousands of deaths, including children, on a scale that is entirely different, incomparable to what is happening in Kashmir. Drawing this false, this dangerous equivalence only serves to incite fear and anger, potentially destabilizing the progress that has been made so far. Maybe that is the intention. It is no secret, viewer, that the Mufti family thrived politically in a climate of unrest. The more divided Kashmir was, the more room the Muftis had to maneuver, portraying themselves as mediators between the center and these many separatist factions. But with growing normalcy in Kashmir, the political space for such middle ground players is shrinking. Iltija Mufti's latest comments therefore seem like a desperate attempt to remain relevant by manipulating public sentiment with dangerous exaggerations rather than offering any constructive solutions. Instead of fanning the flames of fear and resentment, leaders like Iltija Mufti, educated, young, supposedly progressive, should be acknowledging the positive changes and working towards furthering them. This is not about the BJP. This is not about the PDP. This is about the people of Kashmir. The people of Kashmir have suffered long enough. They deserve leaders who tell the truth. They deserve leaders who don't make irresponsible statements. They deserve leaders who prioritize stability, peace, and development over power games and emotional manipulation. Unfortunately, Iltija Mufti's statements suggest that her family's political fortunes matter more to her than the future of Kashmir and its people.
Israel has clearly ramped up its military operations. The Israeli forces released a video footage showing the discovery of a tunnel in the Gaza Strip, and they say that this, according to the IDF, the tunnel was located in a densely populated area, which means residential areas containing rooms, equipment believed to be used by Hamas for extended operations underground. Israel continues to strike Lebanon, dozens of Israeli fighter jets pounding both South and North Lebanon, hitting around 120 Hezbollah sites. Israel is engaged, which means in a multi-front war. Remember, there is the Hamas in Gaza, but there are Houthis in Yemen and in Lebanon, like we saw, the Hezbollah were targeted. These are multi-front that are targeting and enrolled in this war with Israel. Now, the White House has affirmed its unwavering support for Israel's security, emphasizing that ongoing discussions with Israeli officials is also on. But the US has stated that it is prepared to take decisive action in Lebanon, that an all-out war possibly may not be on the table. Civilian safety is the priority for them, but the Hezbollah targets will face the wrath. Let me now go across directly on the ground in Lebanon. Remember, India Today is the only channel to not depend on secondary sources. Ashraf Wani is in Beirut right now. Ashraf, good morning. First, stay safe. We have been constantly putting out all your reports. What is the current situation? Is it an escalation? Do you see an uneasy calm around you?
Pooja, good morning. Absolutely, it is the escalation. First time in the 1 year of war between Hezbollah and the Israel. First time a political party has been targeted, which is not of the Shia Muslims, but of Sunni Muslims of Lebanon. That is Popular Front for Palestinian Independence. That is the political party which was operating from the apartment behind me. I will show in the pictures and brief our viewers what is the really this attack different than the others. This is the main road. It is a Kola junction where mostly the taxis move from one place to another place. And during the Sunday night, since 12 here in the Lebanon and 2 p.m. it was the time in the night in the Delhi when multiple drone missiles were fired on this building. This is a multi-story building with apartments at 5th floor. And you can see in the visuals what is the scenario of this building. I could not understand how this building is standing as each and every apartment of that particular floor has been blown up. Still, we are getting information here on ground that one of the drone missiles is still unexploded in the building. So people had been asked here by the police and the Lebanese army to be away from this particular area. They have sealed it, but I'm inside the area, and you can see the damage of this explosion and this drone strike here in the Beirut. First time since the war started between Hezbollah and the Israel. And see the number of cars. At least more than 50 cars had got completely damaged. Not only the cars, but even we can see the stains of blood here on the road at different locations when those explosions took place by the drone. You can see the shops, how these boards and other things are damaged. Now people trying to come here. And this is the road which leads to the other parts of the Beirut. It has been sealed and blocked. And actually, this clearly indicates that this war is going to escalate between the Israel and the Hezbollah. But another party has now been added, that is the political party, in which 3 members, including their top leader, has been killed in this strike. And dozens are injured who are being treated in different hospitals across the Lebanon.
Ashraf, I request you to stay on because these are incredible visuals that you're bringing to us firsthand about how even city areas have not been spared, because that's what Israel says have been Hezbollah targets that have been precisely struck. I just want to give to you, as a viewer watching, what has happened in the past few days, specifically with regard to the Syria-Lebanon border. Now, remember, the focus has been, let's take a look at the visuals coming in. And as a world map, as we try and show you where Lebanon is, this is where Israel says Hezbollah has been targeted. These are Hezbollah, that has been a designated terror organization by the United States of America, that they have been targeting Israel. On the other side has been Hamas, which is based in Gaza. So it's a multi-pronged war. There is Yemen, where the Houthi rebels have been based, who are also in the Red Sea, who've been targeting Israel, or those who support Israel. Their ships were targeted, remember, recently. So this is that multi-pronged war, including Hezbollah in Syria. This is the Syria-Lebanon border, where Hezbollah has been charging at Israel, and Israel is trying to confront all these different sides. But this also is a reminder of how this, so to say, regional conflict, it's not just about these individual countries. In many ways, it is the supreme Iran that's focusing and mentoring on how these allies go after Israel. And that's why could this regional conflict turn into perhaps a bigger conflict. Now, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah's mortal remains were discovered in Beirut. So that confirmation has literally also come. The IDF has claimed that Hezbollah's underground headquarters that was attacked on Friday, located about 53 meters from a United Nations school in Beirut, stretching that the terror group hides among civilians, and that's how they have been deliberately using these areas. Now, the next leadership of Hezbollah has shifted to Hasham Safiuddin. He's the cousin of Nasrallah, has a history with the organization. That's the man you're looking at, next chief for Hezbollah. US President Joe Biden is scheduled to speak with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu following the death of Nasrallah. Biden has said Nasrallah's death was a measure of justice. It served justice for those affected by Hezbollah. IDF has said Hezbollah chief Nasrallah was eliminated after the IDF precisely targeted underground headquarters situated beneath civilian structures. Nasrallah's body and over 20 others were reportedly found from the same site. I want to go back to Ashraf for the latest on that. Ashraf, what do you see on the ground around you? Is there heightened security? Are there protests? Is there shock? What is happening on the ground in Lebanon and at the Syria-Lebanon border that you're reporting from?
Actually, Pooja, this whole patch of the countries in the West Asia, or we can say in the Gulf, are not new to the war. They have the history of war from decades. It started from 60s, then in 70s, then in 80s, then in 2006. There was a big war between Hezbollah and Israel, which resulted the removal of IDF from the Lebanese territory, particularly South Lebanon. And so these people are aware about. But the new technologies, like the bomb which was used on the Friday's attack on the Hezbollah headquarters, those are some kind of new weaponries which these people here see, because it is the just a moment's time when everything gets shattered and no one knows where he is safe and where he is not safe. In fact, where I am currently standing, no one could imagine that this area could be also targeted, but it was targeted during the night and resulted the not only killing of 3 targets of the Israel, but also injuries to the dozens of civilians who were ferrying and purchasing and moving on this road. So this really means that there is a kind of a fear among the population. That is why you talked about the displacement of the people from the South Lebanon, then from the South Beirut, and now the people were finding that probably this part of the Beirut city is safe, and most of the people from South Beirut were staying in this area in different hotels, in the schools, in the shelter homes. But even this area is not safe. So everyone now in the Lebanon moves with this mind setup that probably he is not safe anywhere. You were talking about the Lebanon-Syria border as well as the Beirut and Damascus road.
Yes.
That road is not even safe. During last 1 week, 5 cars by the drones had been targeted. Israeli drones had been targeted, where the IDF suspects that this is the movement or the car of the Hezbollah. They were targeted, and some leaders of Hezbollah and some civilians also got killed in those specific car and vehicle targets by the IDF.
Meanwhile, why precisely did Israel strike at Nasrallah? Did Nasrallah harm Israel in the past few days or years? Let me give you some background on this. Now, Hezbollah has led multiple military conflicts, including the 2006 Lebanon war. Since the 1980s, he has been associated with Hezbollah as a young leader. Also, we are told that he orchestrated rocket and missile strikes in civilian areas, is what Israel maintains. Now, how did they manage to work all this while? An extensive network of tunnels along the Israeli-Lebanese border, strengthening Hezbollah's arsenal with Iranian-supplied weapons. So therefore, Hezbollah may have been strong in itself, but that came from Iran as mentorship, as the kind of supervision, specifically with ammunition. Spearheaded Hezbollah's role as a key proxy. Because if Iran directly did not want to be involved, that's where Hezbollah came in for anti-Israel activities. But then what happens now? Because if Nasrallah is gone, we are told another leader has been killed as well. Koch also was, we are told, neutralized by Israeli strike. Who next? Now, there is, amid all of this, take a look. We have tried to bring out a certain tree for you to help understand. September 27th, Hassan Nasrallah gone. Naim Qasim, And the Shura Council, basically, that is going to be the focus here. The Shia leaders that were involved in this. There is a Jihad Council on one side, but of that, Ali Karaki, Fuad Shukra, Ibrahim Akil, one by one, killed and neutralized by Israel precision strikes. Then there is Hashim Safiuddin. He's right now appears to be the next in command to take over Hezbollah. There's Ibrahim Amin al-Said and Mohammad Raad. So there are options, and that's why I go back to Ashraf Wani on this. Ashraf, because clearly Hezbollah maintains, Iran maintains that it's not going to be the end of it, that they'll want to appoint someone right away. And I see destruction behind you. So you tell me, how is Hezbollah, Lebanon, Iran taking this ahead? What happens here on? And show us around as well if you can.
Yes, absolutely, Pooja. First of all, with the visuals, I will start conversation with you. This is the busiest part of the Beirut city. You can see this road has been now blocked. All the media people since the morning. It is the morning here in the Beirut, and still the rescue work is on way. Particularly those shopkeepers who are around. They thought yesterday evening will they put off their shutters. That probably there will be another day of business on Monday here. But when they return to their shops, everything has got destructed and destroyed here. Same is the situation with the other apartments and buildings. With this building, which was targeted by Israeli forces during the night, and and also what I earlier said, that there is still one unexploded missile of the drone in this building. It may collapse after the diffusing of that building. That is why this area has been put away from the movement of the people, and even the media has been told to be away. As far as you told about in which direction this war is going on, because no doubt Israel has started this war on 8th of October after the 7th October Hamas attack inside the Israel. That was a very bad situation, not only for the Israeli army, but particularly for the Mossad, that how a small group of Hamas militants could penetrate into their country and kill not only hundreds of people, but even make hostages, including the Israeli soldier. That was an embarrassment for the Mossad as well as for the Israeli army. They chalked out the plan, but they could not imagine that they could face such kind of stiff resistance from not only Hamas, but Hezbollah. From the next day, when Israel started striking in the Gaza, the Hezbollah was the only force, or we can say the Iranian proxy, which started attacking on the northern Israel, and resulted the migration of more than 60,000 people from the northern Israel. And since last 1 year, almost 11 months, these people are displaced in their own country. From the northern Israel, they had been shifted to the safer locations of the central Israel. And there is a lot of mounting pressure, not only from these people on the Netanyahu, but also a lot of pressure from those families whose captives are still with the Hamas. To get some kind of ease in the public pressure, Netanyahu started this new strategy where he wanted to assassinate top leadership of Hezbollah. They have already assassinated top leadership of Hamas, and now they are trying to expand it. They believe that probably these organizations will end up with these assassinations, but that is not the story. The history tells us that during the last many decades, many times there were ups and downs in these proxies of Iran, but they remained again intact and make their force many folds more, and probably that could be the story in the coming days too, as it is a lot of pressure not only on Hezbollah but particularly on the Iran. That is why they are trying their hard to revive that kind of force in the Hezbollah. And the most trusted person, the cousin brother of Hassan Nasrallah, has been now given the command of Hezbollah.
Ashraf, looking forward to all your coverage and such an exclusive information that you're coming in right from on the ground, what you're telling us happening in Lebanon. Looking forward more to the inputs. Ashraf Wani is on the ground, and we'll keep going across to him in just a short while. Ashraf, stay safe. Now remember that this death of Hezbollah chief Nasrallah can actually trigger a new phase as well in an already ravaging war. What about the neighboring regions in the Middle East? It was on September 27th, Israeli precise strike in Beirut killed Nasrallah, and remember this was meticulously planned in advance. But what Israel says is this is not the end. They want to wipe out Hezbollah. The IDF has clarified that their war is only against Hezbollah, not against the people of Lebanon. So here's a ground report coming in. What does this war look like? What happened? And what will happen here on?
Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah is dead. A damaged ring found near Nasrallah's body is all that remains of the Hezbollah chief. Israel confirmed that the strike in Beirut on September 27 that killed Nasrallah was meticulously planned in advance. In a recent strike, Israel claimed that IDF eliminated another senior Hezbollah commander, Nabil. In response, Hezbollah, which fights for Shia Islam, vowed to continue its jihad. The leadership of Hezbollah may shift to Hashim Safiuddin, a cousin of Hassan Nasrallah, with a long history with the radical group.
Since Friday, we have seen there is not any kind of a let-off by the Israeli defensive forces, and that was clearly stated by Benjamin Netanyahu, even in the United Nations General Assembly. He said that their operations will continue unless and until their goals are not achieved.
Killing of Nasrallah could trigger a new phase in the already ravaging war. Thousands of refugees are already fleeing into neighboring Syria. Iran has heightened security, moving its supreme leader Ali Khamenei to a safe house. The death of Hezbollah chief has triggered an outpouring of grief and protests across Iran and pledges of revenge.
With what they did, the Zionist regime will definitely not have any future in the region, in Gaza and then in Lebanon. And the natural result of what they did was to accelerate the decline of Zionist regime.
The West, while pledging support to Israel, called for truce.